Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and I am very excited. I have two people with me on Zoom. I've got ETA and Gema Rubi, and these two were ETA was the writer-director of White Gaze, which was a featurette at Film Invasion Los Angeles in 2024. If featurette sounds weird to people, I'm actually kind of proud of this. So I run two film festivals, and the team decided a while ago, because you know what? Longer shorts kept getting better during COVID and after. It used to be if a short was over 15 minutes, it was rarely good. Now they're really, really good. Like, it's almost like over 20 minutes tends to mean a better film. But it felt wrong for a 20, 25, 35-minute film to go against a 7-minute film for the same award. So this is all for me to explain that Film Invasion Los Angeles, all films from 1 to 20 minutes is a short, 20 to 60 is a featurette, and 60 plus is a feature. And that is why your film, White Gaze, won the Grand Jury Award for Best Featurette Horror. So, bravo. It's a really great film. I'm a big fan. And as I said, ETA is the writer-director, and Gema Rubi is the lead actor. So, congrats on a great film.
Thanks, Jeff. That was a great festival. Glad to be part of it.
Thank you. It was really. I mean, it was fun, and it was certainly great to screen your film. And we will talk about the film a lot. But the fun thing we do on this podcast, it's sort of my way. You know, we do like a pretty long Q&A at the theater, but people have so much more to say. And actually. And I ask about people's whole lives. Of course, I warned you I'm going to ask what got you involved in the creative arts, because it is, particularly in this country, sometimes a little bit of a thankless pursuit. It's truly, I think it's done out of passion and often for all the right reasons. So I just love hearing people's stories, and I think everyone else loves also hearing, what inspired people to get into the arts, because not enough people do it. But also, it's just nice to highlight the people who are really good at it. So that's my reasoning. And then we will get to White Gaze, because, boy, I mean, I know we could talk about White Gaze for a long time, because that is a thought. Besides being a well-made horror film, it certainly is thought-provoking and inspiring. And, especially in these times, I know we don't want to talk. Well, you can talk politics all you want. I see it as my job to not bring that up if I can help it. It's not easy because we're recording this the second week into a new administration, and it's hard to. We're not supposed to put our blinders on, right? But this podcast is about both of you and the film you made together. So let me just throw it at you. ETA, do you want to go first? You want to share how you got into film?
Sure. Yeah, I grew up with a lot of older cousins, and growing up, every time I would visit my grandparents, it was a large extended family, so they'd all be there huddled up in front of a small TV watching whatever 80s or 90s horror film that they rented from the video store. So I had an early introduction to a lot of different B-movies and horror films, and I was the only child for a while, and when I was home alone, I'd always gravitate towards watching movies, and when things were syndicated on TV, I'd be in front of the TV watching that. So it was kind of how I passed the time and built my world around. So I've always been fascinated by movies, escaping into those worlds, and I've always had access to it in different kinds too. So at a really early age, I knew that it was something that I had a passion for.
And you, as a kid, growing up, did you grow up? Where'd you grow up?
Grew up in Orange County.
Orange County.
Yeah.
And so Orange County isn't drowning in Hollywood, right? Like, it wasn't. But I always find it interesting. Like, as a kid, some people just love film, but then some. At what point did you learn that people actually make them? And there's a writer and a director and things like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I was probably the farthest thing away. Like you said, Orange County is close geographically, but it's another world in terms of Hollywood and filmmaking and growing up as the first generation of immigrants, refugees. That wasn't something that was in my orbit at all. So I think in my high school years, there were a lot of high school comedies, teen comedies coming out, and I thought, my friends have funny stories. I could write something, and then that was kind of my informal introduction into seeing what the process was like, and then going into school and then exploring it more. But yeah, that whole process of what filmmaking is and how it works was a lot later into my education. A lot of self-taught.
Yeah, and in high school, was there like a little bit of a program? Was there equipment that you could get your hands on, or?
If there was, I wasn't aware of it. I mean, high school was a blur for me. I wasn't one of those students that was intentioned or knew what I was doing in life.
Right. And when you said
I was in
you
the clouds.
and you wrote your own version of a teen comedy, did you shoot stuff with your friends?
We did. We did like a lot of, I mean, probably like the equivalent of like skate videos. I didn't skate, but we'd do like urban off-roading stuff. We'd take our SUVs out and find like an empty lot and film stuff inside the car. And then I started making some shorts, like emo shorts to Radiohead songs, and it kind it kind of went from there.
And like music video kind of vibe? Or,
Yeah, yeah, music video vibes with some narrative
I feel
involved.
like a really high percentage of filmmakers started as young people listening to their favorite music and visualizing a music video to it. Just
Totally.
something kind of natural we do, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people start that way. That is cool. And Radiohead's a great band. Just
yeah,
gotta say.
yeah. Great soundtrack for a lot of angst, especially in those years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And then what came like after high school?
Yeah, I took some classes in at community college and didn't get into the cinema program at USC, but was pretty set on going to school there, or partly pressured by my parents. But ended up going there, didn't get into the cinema program. I opted for communication instead, which was considered a safer option. And afterwards, I still had the itch and kind of just did freelance videography, editing, wedding videos, and then segued back to music videos when I've relocated back to LA. And yeah, it's been a slow crawl back to narrative. I've really have gone through trial by fires, figuring out how to do it from scratch and with no budgets, and figuring out the back end stuff, because the creative stuff it comes natural, but all the logistics, figure out a team, pre-pro and all those are things that you learn formally in school. I didn't have that much formal training, so that's the stuff that really I've had to catch up on and figure out, and collaborating and leading a team, and dealing with the pratfalls and the challenges. That's the maturation process for me that I had to learn and go through.
For sure, yeah, because each you learn with each film you make as a young person, right? You learn from mistakes, but you pretty much realize, right, that like every film you set up, it's like starting a business
Yeah,
and like putting
yeah,
together a team, like to with like it takes a lot. It takes a lot of skill. So it sounds like even if you don't credit yourself as a producer much, you learned how to be a producer too. It sounds like.
learn how to be a producer, learn how to be social, learn how to communicate with people and different personalities. That was all the I think all the stuff that there were the missing ingredients that I needed to actually become efficient filmmaker that I lacked at younger ages. And a lot of people have that process where maybe they're a little bit narcissistic or self-centered, and they don't know how to figure out how to communicate with their team or find personalities that mesh. And it gets a little bit messy, but we all go through our own journeys, and mine was a drawn out one, to say the least.
Well, I'll say that, I am of the opinion, and I know it's kind of cheeky, but no narcissist has ever considered themselves a narcissist. Right? Like if you can even think I'm being narcissistic, it means you're not a narcissist. Because those narcissists, oh boy, they never their heads are way too far up their butts to ever really like consider that other human beings have thoughts and feelings. So anyhow, so, and by the way, right, an artist does have to actually find that balance, right, between believing in yourself and being super driven and knowing, like, even if other people tell me not to do this, this is what I got to do. Like it does take a level of self-confidence, right?
Yeah, everyone works differently. I mean, I really love the process of working with other people, and I like surrounding myself with people that I find that are more interesting and more intelligent than myself, or that I consider to be. And anybody who's a resource, I'm looking for to seek information from, and anything that can make the project or the product better, I'm all for. But yeah, it is a balance. Sometimes it's a balance I'm still learning, where I can be too collaborative, and I want to take on everybody's ideas, and drawing that line, because it is, for all intents and purposes, my vision, as much as I don't want to say that or project that. I need to. It takes some confidence and assurance with identity to go, okay, this is how it should be, regardless of what you might consider or think. But I love being a team player. I feel like a point guard. I grew up playing basketball. I like to facilitate, and I like to get the best out of people, so the whole team wins.
I played a lot of basketball as a young person too, and I gotta admit, I'm pretty old, so like my hero was Magic Johnson era. But I remember Magic Johnson saying he learned real young that getting assists helped his team win more than trying to score for himself.
Yeah.
So learning to be point guards, quarterbacks, whatever, is knowing how to make other people excel.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, we should bring Gema in.
Totally. This is Hema's first. This is their debut podcast interview, by the way.
Ah, excellent.
So we're all graced to be here.
I'm extra proud. Oh, I want to put you in. So, do you? I know you two. Well, I have an idea how you met, but do you want to share how you met?
From my perspective?
Yeah, we want your perspective.
Yeah, sure. So we actually worked together for about 4 years now. And
wow.
Yeah, about
4 years, and it's not a film job or anything, right? Or
no, it's a completely different job, like working in education, so it's like completely different. But it originally started off with them asking me to like review their script that they had, that they had written out, and writing down notes and stuff, and the draft, and like just giving my thoughts. And I don't know where the idea came from, but they just asked me if I wanted to play the lead, and I was like, sure. I don't think I fully understood the length and the scale of which it was going to be done. I thought it was going to be like a quick little thing. But I was like, sure, I'm down, to try it. And it was actually a really fun experience. That was my perspective. I don't know what was like the logic behind ETAs.
I purposefully didn't give a lot of details about the scale, so they'd be more interested in playing the part.
And when you said to Hema, "Hey, will you read this script?" Were you thinking that they would be great for the role, or you did just want your friend's opinion?
Yeah, they were a resource that I knew that could help fill in some blind spots for me and make it feel more authentic. So I reached out to a couple coworkers, Hema being one of them, because even though I didn't know them too well at the time, I could sense that they had a strong opinion and they were knowledgeable, and especially knowledgeable about this specific topic that I was trying to address. But it wasn't until maybe a little bit further into the audition process where I'm like, oh, a lot of these people don't feel like they would authentically represent this world that I want to create or that I want to represent myself. And a lot of them were maybe Spanish, a little bit lighter on the melanin. And we went out one night, all our coworkers, and I remember it was us all bowling, and then Hema might have been Hema might have been a couple of drinks deeper than usual, and they were just like an extroverted boss, and I was like, oh, I didn't know you had that side of you. So kind of at that moment it clicked, and then I realized that they could potentially play the role. It would be a risk for both of us, but it worked out in the end.
Yeah, because I guess, no, I don't think it's a spoiler to say that the inspiration for the film White Gaze came from gentrification. Yeah. But it is a film. Yeah. Well, you want to share the themes of the film and why you saw Hema's opinions?
Hema, do you want to share the themes that kind of resonate with you? Why you want to be why you're open to being a part of it?
Well, like one of them, you already mentioned gentrification and displacement, which, falls within that same category, but can also be contextualized to a lot of other things. And just like a lot of, the idea of power, right? And just the place in which the film was going to take place was a place that I actually grew up in and I still currently live in. And I think I had a lot of opinions about how to make the film reflect something that I also was feeling. Continuously living in a moment and in a place where I feel a constant threat of being displaced and replaced, and just aspects of who I am and who my community is, just being sucked out, and just I don't know what the word is, but it's like slipping my mind. But just being taken for
is the word appropriation?
Appropriation. There we go. See, it's my mind is like not here, but appropriating certain aspects of our cultures and identities, just for shock value or for like the superficial aspects of it, and not really understanding what goes behind them. And so when ETA asked me to like review it, it definitely hit a lot of like the check boxes for me of like what I've been feeling. So yeah, I think that's it for me. Yeah.
And it's really one of the things that the film, I mean, obviously it does it well because you all made sure it worked well. But like, okay, so, as the white guy here, like the appropriation is presented so wonderfully in the film within the context of a horror film, because it really shows it's not just about being cringy. Because it's not the person acts like they're embracing someone else's culture, but really they're showing a level of disrespect for it. Mm-hmm. Right. And it's really the disrespect that really just causes the issues. That makes it a negative thing, right? Because if you show respect for another culture, you don't appropriate it.
Yeah, that's actually a conversation that Hema and Aliyin, who was the supporting character actor that was Hema's friend in the movie. We had a conversation about that, and for me personally, I felt, like imposter syndrome in a way, because even though for me it came from a sincere place and a lot of it was like centered on personal experiences in relation to the roommate situation and like other variations of appropriation that experience kind of brought to the surface. I was living in a neighborhood where I am technically a gentrifier as well. And, living with certain people and observing certain people that moved into that space. During that time I lived there, the conversation really centered around, like you said, embracing that culture, respecting it, and kind of meshing in it versus, twisting or bending it to fit your comforts or your ideologies or whatever fits your benefit. That's really the difference. I mean, economic changes are always going to happen, and places are always going to start, having shifts in who inhabits it and what it looks like. But maintaining a culture, respecting it, and like understanding the heritage that it comes from is something that shows the appreciation of that space, of that area.
Yeah. And well, so Hema, when you read it, besides, did you give like a lot of notes?
I don't think I gave like too many notes. I think it was mostly like certain notes on like cultural context, like certain words that I was like, I would never say that. Or
So
like,
you already knew you were going to play it. You had decided you would play it, and then you're like, if I'm going to play it,
I think
this character's going to be real.
There were so many like idiosyncrasies linguistically, like from culture to culture in the slang and and I was probably at that time mixing them all together. Like a Salvadorian person probably wouldn't say this word, or like someone that was from Mexico or a Chicano American wouldn't say this or that. And I think I probably was just tossing things in there to see what stuck. And Hema was helping kind of like arrange it in a way that would work.
Yeah. It's also interesting though, because it did work. Because I grew up in that neighborhood, right? Pico Union is like a predominantly Central American neighborhood. So sometimes like the way even I speak is very different than the way someone like from East LA or South LA speaks. Because I I have adapted some Central American slang in my vocabulary just because I grew up around it. So like I was trying to be conscious about that, but also like being like thinking about myself. Like I also wouldn't say this, or like somebody else wouldn't say. Like I would say it, but somebody else wouldn't understand it, or they wouldn't. Yeah.
That's a really cool thing that you helped with too, because I mean, I'm third generation Los Angeles, so I've been fortunate, I think, to live in a very multicultural world. So growing up in the San Fernando Valley and having friends from everywhere, I happened to learn, right, the lesson that there are so many cultures. There's so many cultures from Central and South America, and I think we know that in the United States in general, that's not acknowledged, right? A lot of people are cavalier and racist about it, just saying, honestly, one of the things I've always hated the most was I I had an ex-brother-in-law who just loved to say, "Don't they all just speak Mexican?" And he was like one of those white guys who you just wished, like, it was just awful.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many nuances to every culture that, we
Yeah.
tend to, I think we all do it to some degree. It's not necessarily because of being racist for everybody, but like
Yeah, yeah.
it's just that we're not exposed to it, and then we kind of just, you know, generalize
Yeah,
that.
make some assumptions. But the
Yeah,
cool
make some
thing is
assumptions.
Hema helped the film White Gaze, even for people who won't notice it, right? That's the great thing about getting things right. I always complain when Hollywood gets things wrong because I'm like, if you'd gotten it right, all
Yeah,
that means
and
is a couple people would notice and the rest of the audience wouldn't, but at least, like, why not just get it right?
it's so easy to seek out that help and assistance. There's so many resources, and why make yourself vulnerable to getting called out for inauthenticity,
Yeah.
or getting holes in your movie or your project.
Yeah.
But
And honestly, ETA, like what you said when you were a young person and TV was an escape and things like world, right? The truly wonderful thing about filmmaking is it's world building. Like you create the film is its own universe, it's its own
mhm,
world. And
mhm.
you know, why not build an authentic world?
Yeah, everybody loves an authentic world that has those details that you have to really uh, observe and engage with to notice. And even though sometimes they're intangible or they're right below the surface, they somehow subconsciously enhance the viewing experience.
Yeah. All right, well now I guess I should dive into the fun questions, which are for Hema and what was it like acting?
It was really hard because I don't do well with, well, I think the movies actually helped, but before I wasn't okay with cameras.
Hmm.
I think that was my biggest issue, like cameras. I'm gonna be real. I struggle with body dysmorphia, so like that was a big issue. But I feel like all that aside, it was really, I had no idea how laborious it would be. Like it was hard work and long days. Um, and it's just really hard because I also struggle with being, not like being told what to do. Um, I have a hard time like when people are like, "Do this." A
Yeah,
part of me is just like, "Oh, like I don't want to though." Yeah.
the
Um,
anti-authority streak is strong. It's hard to.
Yeah, and your director was smiling as you were talking about that you don't like being told what to do.
No, I totally understand. I'm empathizing because I know exactly what Hema's talking about. I sometimes feel the same way. It's tough.
yeah. And it's like in like no disrespect. I was doing my best to like, take it all in. Um, but it was also a lot of fun. Just getting to spend time with, the setting during shots, as they were setting up the cameras, just chilling and being able to talk to them, it really felt like I was able to build community um, within that space. And it felt very welcoming. I was expecting it to be very daunting, but it didn't really feel like that. So I'm really grateful that it was a positive experience. I don't know if everyone has had the fortune of it being that for them, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
And ETA, like, did you hand the character off to Hema and say, run with this character, or did you have a pretty specific way that you wanted that role played?
I honestly like usually character development is something that I figure out with the person that I find to play the role, and I love handing it off because it's not my strong suit. But with Hema, it was definitely scary to This was mostly self-financed. I mean, I fronted the money at a time when I didn't have very much savings or any cushion at all either. So it was definitely like if it wasn't gonna resonate with people, if it wasn't gonna be a step in the right direction for me as a filmmaker, it would have been a huge setback. So it was saying that it was scary as hell to put all my eggs in a basket with somebody who was, you know, uncomfortable around the camera and then who's never acted before. And you know, Emma's sometimes quite reserved, and you don't really know what's behind their eyes or what they're thinking. So you know, I would didn't know if they were practicing the lines on their own after work or if they were, you know, getting themselves into that state of mind to work on their first film. So it was all kind of opaque for me, and that was nerve wracking. But yes, as soon as we started rehearsing with Shannon, who says hi by the way, and we started, you know, getting closer to production, like they were so invested in it, and I definitely just, I mean, they're the what's the word called, the term, they know it the best. They know, I mean, it's an experience that's a lot closer
Or like
to,
they're almost the embodiment of the character, maybe, or
yeah, they're the embodiment of the character. They're the expert. They're the expert of the, you know, of the. So, yeah, I totally handed it off to him, and when it came down to, you know, I'd chime in and make some tweaks, but you know, it was Hema's role, it was Hema's character, and I trusted them in how in the direction it went. And whenever I was in doubt, I asked them what they thought, what they would do in the situation. Definitely.
and it works so well because I have to say the performance is just great. I mean I mean really you really did take a big risk on Hema as a first time, you know, just as a non-actor asking to be the lead because they had to carry the whole film. Like the whole film is resting on those
Yeah,
shoulders.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and if that and I think what really resonated for me is is I've known that person, right? Like I've had friends who have sort of right, the character's a little passive, but there's a real humanity that comes like there's I actually really love people who are like that, like and just kind of like roll with it, and they're just kind of like you know doing their best to get along, right? Because Hema's character is obviously in the position of needing to cope with society and get along with people, and you know it certainly is right. I mean, it's fair to say that walking into situations and trying to change the world to suit you is I would assume is fair to call a white privilege because I don't
yeah,
know of
yeah,
I don't hear too many examples of the opposite.
yeah, yeah. The Hema's character, which it's maybe like an aspect of Hema's personality, but Hema's also fiery and a strong-willed person. But yeah, like you said, that comes with variations of privilege, and in the situation in White Gaze, obviously that character didn't have that privilege, and adapting and surviving is you know the primary objective
Yeah.
for
So
that
in other
character.
words, in real life, Hema would have taken a lot less shit
I
from
think
that
so.
person.
I think so.
Yeah. No, I would have. Yeah, I would have done things a lot differently.
You would have kicked that roommate out right away.
Yeah.
They would throw some blows for sure.
And Emma, did you enjoy the whole like a lot of actors? I even saw a couple famous actors talking on some interview show not long ago where they talked about how fun it is to just be somebody else.
I can't even say that I was somebody else. I feel like I was myself. I feel like a lot of what y'all saw on the film is me.
Mhm.
The wardrobe, that's those are my clothes, like that's what I wear. And like, everything besides the earrings, I feel like the character is almost 95% me. um, but it was fun to like pretend to be in a scenario that I'm not in, and have the ability to kind of get an idea of what things could look like if I choose to take a more passive route. Um, it wasn't necessarily me be somebody else, but it was me living some other life.
Mm. Like a prism of experience.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So that was kind of fun. Um, yeah, I think
Yeah, and when you say
I
95% you, not the whole you, but it was parts of you. Like you let your sides of yourself through.
yes, and I mostly mean that in the sense of there are parts of me that of course like I weren't shown in the movie, right? Like you weren't able to see a lot of my joy. Um, so I feel like that's the part that I would have loved to show a little bit more, because I can be a very gloomy person, but I'm also like I also have joy,
Yeah. But that didn't work for the story.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, yeah, but it was mostly me. I'm not that
Yeah.
gloomy.
This was not the comedy where you would get to show your fun side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
There
some,
was
yeah.
there were some subtle hints at the comedic aspects of that character or Hamlet's personality though that we slid in there. You know, it could have been a darker film. I think it kind of straddles like satire and you know and political humor at the same time with horror elements.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, really, in some ways, right? Shannon's character got to be very funny in a cringy way.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Shannon owned that character really well. Also,
it was it's it's very rare for me to have met people before, when a film comes into, gets submitted to our festivals. Might as well share that, yeah, Shannon Gibson, who plays the roommate, had a film at our festival, I think 2 years previous. I think it was 1 or 2 years. Heck, I think it might even been 2021. But anyhow, and their film, and they had a film with us, and to see Shannon play that character
transform.
completely
Yeah,
unlike Shannon's personality in any way.
yeah.
In fact,
Shannon was so helpful on set too for myself and Hema. I think getting both of us comfortable with having someone that's a non-actor kind of just jump right in and carry the project. A lot of acting games, theater games, and the thoughtfulness of the whole subject matter too was really insightful. So we kind of got a you know panorama of perspectives to round this out. But yeah, they're cringy, creepy, obnoxious, annoying, and like they embodied the entire spectrum of what we wanted to represent or present.
and I mean, it's very subtle, right? Like some of the microaggressions are subtle, but it's subtle filmmaking isn't easy, right? It's tough to get in those subtle moments that really mean something.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't.
Or is it actually really natural because like you create the situation and yeah, there's going to be some cringy shit in here.
A lot of those things were. I mean, those are based from real conversations or moments that I've had or I've heard. A lot of them that I've had or overheard. So, yeah, when you hear it in real life, it sounds just as bad as when it's reenacted.
For sure. For sure. And actually, how did you, I mean, it's a 25-minute film, right? So
30, yeah.
30. Did you
Even.
shoot it? Did it take a long time to shoot, or did you actually move real
Oh,
quick with it?
oh my gosh. No, that was like the smoothest process. Like, we shot it in 5 days, no pickups, no reshoots. I had a like assembly cut in less than a month, picture locked in like a month and a half, and it's out to festivals. It was a breeze. We missed some things, and obviously you're always nitpicking when you look back at it of things that you wish you did better. But yeah, that whole White Gaze was such a breeze from beginning to finish.
And I guess Hem is lucky that they signed on to do a film that got done in 5 days instead of, one of those ones that's be like weekends for 6 weeks or something.
Yeah. Yes and no. Yes, because it was quick, but long. They were like long days.
There,
They
they
were
were
like
they were
12,
10-hour days,
yeah, 10-hour days.
which is not that long, but for
Yeah,
non-actors,
actually, you got off easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was the middle of summertime, so
It
and
was
I
hot.
I didn't have central AC in that apartment that we shot in, so there's
And
some
a
valid
lot of the
points.
film takes place at night, right? So you did not have long nights in the summer, right? Because like
Yeah, yeah,
sun's out late and this comes up early here in LA.
yeah, yeah. We had to. I mean, it was a pretty. We moved fast. I think we did some day for night stuff, but generally we moved fast.
Hmm.
Yeah, which affected coverage a little bit, but we got what we needed for the essentials.
Yeah. And Emma, what was it like watching?
Like the film,
Yeah.
it
Or
Yeah,
even,
was.
I assume you got to see some dailies or some rough cuts, or
I think ETA almost had to like drag me to go watch it because I did not want to see it. I was like, it's kind of like when you hear a recording of yourself and you just don't like the what you hear. I was just like, is that my voice? Is that how I
I sound
look? Is
like
that how
that.
I sound like that? So
Yeah.
I did not. I was like, I don't want to see it, but I did see it. And I was fortunate enough to see it for the first time alongside my siblings and alongside my other coworkers and friends. It did make it a little bit more daunting to feel the eyes, but I am actually really proud of it. I think I was being a little too critical of myself, but I think the editing, everything was just done so perfectly because I hadn't seen it before. Any drafts, I just saw it once it was completely done.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah,
definitely an experience. Sorry, go ahead.
Hema, I had to definitely encourage them to come see the movie, and that it was that they were well represented and they had an amazing performance. But honestly though, Jeff, they on set they got real comfortable being the lead actor though. You know,
do tell.
yeah, they just stepped right into it. Know, they were fine being pampered, being the center of attention, and like it might have been like a foreign thing at first, but they really got comfortable being the at center stage once we started filming.
But you must have seen something in Hema because I like Hema earlier. You mentioned like what it, like being on camera and being in front of a camera, and I can tell you, I have seen it more times than I can count. Where people think acting's easy, or people like they act, and then as soon as the camera is pointed at them, they freeze or the performance changes. Like cameras You know, because I curse a lot, I just want to go, cameras are motherfuckers. Like, cameras are really hard to deal with.
Yeah, I think I was nervous that Hema their eyes would gravitate towards the camera when we would film. So I think maybe Hema took it on their own accord to just like practice reading lines in front of a mirror while not looking at the mirror, right? Didn't you practice doing that for a bit? Yeah.
Yeah, until like I memorized.
Yes.
Was that your own idea?
Yeah, because I could feel myself wanting to do that when we would do like our rehearsals and we were just reading the script in ETA's room. Sometimes I think you would have a camera out sometimes.
Yeah.
I would feel myself gravitating towards the camera. So I was like, I have to cut it out before, filming starts. So yeah, that's something I would just do on my own.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because our entire lives growing up,
look to the camera,
point a camera at you and they say, look in the camera, look in the camera. All of a sudden it's, if you look at the camera, you break the moment.
Yeah, I mean, Hema, I think the moment that I spoke about earlier when I saw like more dimensions to Hema's personality, that they could be extroverted and outward and goofy and bossy, kind of clicked for me because I wanted to humanize the character. I wanted to keep it grounded in reality, and even with that, there needs to be some sort of emotion that can resonate with the audience and capture them into the story. So they're already a grounded person. It already comes from a real place. So having the versatility to show a little bit more really sealed the deal for me.
And I just have to mention, I noticed that you did mention bowling.
Yeah.
It was bowling night. Bowling brings out the best in everyone, doesn't it? I love bowling.
Bowling was fun. I'm going to try to, I'm going to look for a rec league to join, I think. That's my next thing in 2025.
Not going to lie. I was part of a bowling league for like probably 5 to 10 years in my, somewhere around like from 30 to 40 or whatever. It was so much fun doing it.
Let me know if you make your comeback, Jeff. I'll join you. We can squad up.
Dang.
I do like a solid 200, I think.
Oh, that's your average?
Not a slouch.
Oh, that's good. I once, I don't think my average ever got that high, but I could brag about my best series ever. I had a 600 series. I got a plaque.
Whoa.
For having a 600 series in the, and what are you going to do?
Yeah,
that's impressive. That's impressive.
I got a 30 on that night, ETA. I was horrible at bowling. So, girl, I don't know what you saw that night, but.
Yeah, that's why there weren't any bowling scenes in White Gaze. We wrote those out. We're like, no bowling scenes.
I mean, one of these days you got to make a bowling film, though, because oddly enough, isn't bowling, and I'm sorry for the tangent, but isn't bowling one of the most cinematic things? Like, for some reason, movies that have bowling in them are always cool.
You know what? I have never thought about a bowling movie. I've always wanted to do a sports movie, specifically a basketball movie. But now that you say that, seeing like a POV shot of the ball going down the lane in 60p in slow-mo with some fire banger song would actually be really cool. It'd be cinematic as hell. So maybe,
telling you the history of bowling and cinema. It's if I were a fancier person, maybe I would like write a book about Big Lebowski, Kingpin,
Big Lebowski with hip hop.
Yeah. See, no one's done that. The world is waiting for the next generation's interpretation of the bowling film.
The world's been waiting with bated breath for the next bowling masterpiece.
For real, though. I'm not. At least my world is.
You know what? I like that idea. And in all seriousness, I might write that thing. But I'm
Oh,
gonna have
nice.
to seek you out for some assistance in being a resource for it, though.
My role at this stage of my life is to help your generation. My goal is just to be there for the next generation of filmmakers, and there's not much I can do, but if I can, I do it, right? Because helping people is, well, in my opinion, it adds value to your life when you're helping others. But I guess that was some pretty clear virtue signaling. So,
Well, it's acknowledged and it's recognized and it's appreciated.
thanks. Well, I guess I feel like asking Hema if so. Did this give you a taste for a little like, gonna say to ETA, hey, make sure you write something for me in that bowling movie?
I wouldn't say like it's something I'm gonna like seek out, but if the opportunity arises again, I think I would. And I gotta say, it definitely made me a lot more comfortable with the camera. Um, I am a lot more comfortable people pointing it at me, and I'll pose and I'll do my thing. Um, so yeah, I think it's a possibility now. Hmm.
Yeah. I
Very
think
cool.
I think Hema has a lot of potential to pursue it more seriously if they wanted to. We actually had some interest in developing into a feature, and Hema and I were going to collaborate on some ideas, but it wasn't something that I thought I could really see to the finish line. But I did coax them into some ADR cameos for my next project. So we're building out the Hema multiverse a little bit.
Yeah, and I could see why people would suggest that you go for explore the feature idea of it. But yeah, features that is a big bite.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Although if
Well,
you're gonna
it's
make a
30 minutes.
feature,
I mean,
every distribution person I've ever met is like, if you're gonna try to get a feature out there, doesn't hurt if it's got a horror element.
yeah. I mean, 30 minutes is basically like a third way into to future, anyways. But
Heck, a feature can be 70 minutes these days, right? So
yeah,
you only need another 40.
another 20 minutes.
You can
Yeah.
have Hema's character walking around more with her friend. So anyway, and then they go bowling. But
Yeah, very cool.
so you
Yeah,
mentioned the
shoehorn
next
the
stuff.
ball in
So
here.
so you're already on to another project.
Yeah, we I'm in post for a feature, and accidentally became a feature, but shot it last summer. It's been kind of a winding road, but it's called Menstrual. It's about a young mother who's still grieving the disappearance slash loss of their daughter, and they hear a NPR interview with their estranged dad who's studying a wormhole in the Pacific Ocean, and decide to travel to see their dad and maybe tie up some loose ends and find their way again.
Wow.
And yeah, so it's in post. We've started kind of tentatively entering it as a work in progress to festivals, so we'll see how that plays out.
Very cool. Very cool. And Hema did some sat at a microphone for you and did some ADR voice. You said.
Yeah, yeah, we had I don't know if you remember, there's a shot in White Gaze where we have a missing persons sign plastered on a tree. And that's of a really influential Latina political activist. This time around, we have another missing persons sign for a scene in Echo Park, and you see Hema's face on it. And No, it's a little Easter egg. So there's some spoilers, and then later on, we hear Hema at a motel in the background discussing some aspects of where they are now, post white gaze.
That's very cool. That's am I wrong? Is that like Easter egg territory almost?
Yeah, I love the Easter eggs.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. All right. Well, before we wrap it up, I should probably, and this is one I should have warned you about. My apologies. If you want, I'll ramble on for a little bit while you think of your answer. But I was gonna give you that question where people who are really helpful to you in getting the film made and stuff, besides Hannah, like if you want to name check some folks, I'm sure there's people who deserve it.
Yeah. So the community that we work at, the school, everyone there was so supportive, and they helped us reach our goal for the crowdfunding campaign, which was really a financial relief for me because, like I said, it was my own money fronted. And my producer Shanwan Menton was, kind of the person that held everything together. And Aline and Shannon, like we had a small team. I could name everybody on the cast and crew because everyone played multiple roles. We had maybe it was a skeleton crew, five, 6 people total. Michaela, who helped with the production design and the costuming. Jason, who's my sound designer, and they did for basically peanuts on the dollar. And just did such a great job mixing the sound and adding the score alongside Ramiro and Cullen, who added some really cool aspects and pieces to the compositions as well. Yeah, it was definitely a collective project effort, and it was a fun experience. Like it was a communal experience. It was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I know as I asked the question, I know for a fact that with an indie film, if there's a name in the credits, that person mattered.
Yeah,
Right?
everybody mattered.
Everybody.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
obviously even a Hollywood film, but I mean there's thousands of names and like, you know, but on an indie film, it's hard work and it's tough and it means a lot. It means a lot. When if someone's name ends up in the credits of your film, it means without them you needed that person involved, I guess is what I'm saying.
Totally. Yeah. It was
All right.
definitely like took a town, it took a village. Is that the saying? It took a village.
It takes a village is the
Yeah.
saying, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, the cool thing is, because of the festival, Film Invasion Los Angeles, we uh, we do have your. Do you want us to make your Instagram a clickable link in the show notes?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you have
Always.
it. Because do you have an Instagram just for the film, or it's really just your?
I don't do that. We don't have to get into discussions of why marketing wise, but I just
I don't.
it's
I
just
don't think it's necessary to have multiple accounts.
yeah, it's just ETA was here. I'm the hub.
Yeah, and actually on there, I'm sure there's stuff about menstrual and whatnot. And
Yeah, yeah.
very
Once
cool.
there's a marketing team around any project that I work on, they can figure that out. But right now, you know,
And
I'll
Hema,
keep
do
it
you want to stay
simple.
low key? You want to stay low key, or you want to share an Instagram or other social media thing?
I'll stay low key for now.
Stay low
Yeah, I
key.
don't really use my Instagram.
What
Excellent
about
idea.
your Snapchat, your Blue Sky, any of those?
I
I like
just
that.
recently, like, I stopped. This is and now I'm just being silly and sharing with you too, but I finally like took Instagram and Facebook and like moved those apps where I can't find them on my phone
Yeah.
and started using Blue Sky a little. And this crazy thing happened. In less than a week, I picked up a book.
What do you? What? How is that? What do you mean?
Like taking social media out of like not looking
Oh,
at
I
Instagram
gotcha.
all the time.
Uh-huh.
My brain was like, hey, why don't you read a book?
Totally. It's always good to limit screen time. I'm glad you chose Blue Sky though, instead of some other alternatives.
That was fairly intentional. Now, every once in a while, I do a Blue Sky post, and then the only time I open Instagram, and then I go to Instagram and I put up a post that says, I just did something in Blue Sky. If you want to see it, here's the link to Blue Sky. Okay, I'm just trying to pull all my friends over to Blue Sky and do away with everything that relates to, you know what?
Meta.
Yeah, I'm over Meta.
Mark Lizerberg.
And besides, forget the political stuff, although that was obviously meant something to me. Yeah. It's those algorithms are evil.
Yeah.
They're trying to control our attention. And Blue Sky is open source, I believe, and I just want to see what my friends are up to. I don't need to, a
little less brain rot, a little more community.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my soapbox. I do recommend that people step away from I'm not telling you what to do with your lives, but I can say that I feel better. 1 week into my experiment, actually a week and a half into my experiment of seeing if I can stay away from social media.
It's a real issue. We're all susceptible to it, and it's unfortunate that I watched this, a tangent off of your tangent, but I watched this YouTube essay about when did technology stop becoming beneficial for the progression of the progress of humanity, and if we've reached that point and we're on the other end of things where now it's becoming detrimental to our existence. And I mean, I'm on the side clearly it has, and now it's about a level of moderation using all technology and how we use it. So yeah, less screen time the better.
Yeah, and as an individual, it's each of our responsibilities in a way to see what technology makes our life a little better and what technology makes our life a little worse. Because, I'm a fan of some technologies, and I will. My last brag is I was very lucky. I'm in the arts, and I have a life partner who's not, and thanks to that, we put solar on the roof. And I freaking love those solar panels. In fact, I'm even proud that we could say that this podcast, even though the sun's down, we generate enough electricity all day to cover us through the night. So it's like this at least 1/3 of this Zoom call is powered by renewable energy. So hey.
That should be the headline right there. That's a headline.
I know. Sometimes I think, like, should I say at the film festivals that this is a solar-powered festival, except for the theater? Like, why don't movie theaters have solar panels on their damn roofs? I don't know.
That needs to be the cold open, like your podcast powered by.
I got myself a little EV, and I like pulling up next to a Prius, and I go, gas guzzler. Sorry. All right, well, are we good? Emma, anything you want to add before we jump on?
No, just thank you for being so welcoming.
Thank you for being a good sport. I know this isn't really your thing, and I really appreciate that you came on and talked about it. Because, you might be the first actor to ever hop on this podcast whose goal is not acting, right? You did this for a friend and coworker, and you're open to doing more, but you're just a good person. You're just good friend, good person, and I appreciate it. I appreciate you suffering through your first podcast, being asked what it's like to act and stuff, because
I love talking about myself, so it's fine.
Oh, excellent. Well, we're wrapping up this interview podcast, and the next podcast, ETA and Gema will answer a fun 4 questions about just, naming favorite films, overrated, underrated, and stuff. So you can totally talk about yourself even more.
Yes.
I told you they got a
I
little
will.
comfortable as a lead actor on set. It's carried over.
Yeah. I like it. I would have loved even more. But let me wrap us up. So I will. There will be ETA's Instagram. Will be a clickable link in the show notes. And thank you, Gema. Thank you, ETA, for being on the Discover Indie Film podcast. And thank you, everyone, for listening. If you want to, please like and subscribe. If you want to learn more about this podcast, go to discoverindiefilm.com. And on social media, even though I'm not on social media, but on social media, it's always at DIF for Discover Indie Film. DIF wins. I mentioned that White Gaze took home that Grand Jury Award at Film Invasion Los Angeles. We hold that festival every June. You can learn more if you go to filminvasionla.com. And on social media, it's always at Film Invasion LA. It does have a sister festival every December. That's the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. And people can learn about that at ShermanOaksFF.com, or it's at ShermanOaksFF on social media. And the last thing to mention is there's a little thing called the Indie Channel. If you go to indiechannel.tv, you can learn about it. And I guess I should say that I believe there's a very good chance that White Gaze will be on the Indie Channel someday. So you can go to indiechannel.tv and look for the award-winning film White Gaze. There we go.
White Gaze. Yeah.
White Gaze. All right. ETA, Gema, thank you both so much.
Thanks, Jeff. It was a pleasure.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care.